it's time to share my actual full story on TikTok. This is part 1. Make sure that you're following for part 2. Where to start? Okay, so basically, I fell into a vicious anxiety cycle in 2021. It was December 8th, 2021, following the removal of my gallbladder. So let me just say up front that the gallbladder removal was not necessarily the cause of this. I think it was just the last stressor, straw that broke the camel's back situation. Leading up to this gallbladder removal, I was under a lot of stress, and honestly, it's funny because I went and saw a counselor right after everything happened, and I was telling her my life, and she's like, that's a lot of stress. And I was like, no, it's not. So I didn't really realize how much stress I was under. But we were doing a lot, good stress and bad stress. It wasn't all bad, but we were traveling a ton. I was working a ton. I had a toddler at the time, trying to get pregnant. I was having multiple miscarriages, which I also look back and would say it was definitely stress induced. I have 2 more babies since all of this has happened. Actually got pregnant during the anxiety cycle, so that'll be part of my story. But anyway, yeah, I was under a lot of stress. I was personality type that was very much a perfectionist, overdoer, overscheduler, lacked boundaries, people pleaser, ruminated a lot. I mean, if something happened, I thought about it forever, so a lot of that kind of stuff was going on. But I went into my surgery. I had surgery before too, so I'd had, different surgeries, no issues. Everything was normal. It was not an emergency surgery. And I wake up from my surgery and I felt off. And so I remember telling them, like, hey, something's not right. I need you to keep me here. And they were like, no, like, you're good. You've been here long enough. You need to go home. And so what I felt was like my anesthesia had not worn off. And of course it hadn't at the time, right? And so they were trying to rationalize with me and tell me, like, look, you're still under mild anesthesia. Go home, sleep it off. You're going to be fine. So I get home. I remember feeling very panicky. And also prior to this, yes, I had dealt with some anxiety, but I had never had a panic attack. Like, I wasn't having panic attacks. I wasn't ever scared of physical symptoms, right? It was more like thought-based anxiety, fear of death, that sort of thing. So anyway, I go home, try to sleep, and as I'm falling asleep, I start jolting awake in my sleep. And it felt like the best way to put it is if I would allow myself to sleep, I was going to allow myself to die. That's like the easiest way to describe it. If you're going through it, you understand what I'm saying. So that was happening, right? And I was still feeling this weird, like, anesthesia feeling. So the next day I wake up, it's still there, okay? Turns out this is DPDR that lasted for a very, 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 very long time. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. And so I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, did this anesthesia affect my brain? Like, what the heck is going on? It felt like I was severely drugged. And so at that point, I'm trying to connect dots, right? I'm like, I feel super off. Like, what is causing this? And so I remember I was talking to my husband on the phone, and he was at the pharmacy getting a refill or getting my pain medication filled or something from my surgery. And I remember on the phone, he was like, hey, they asked if you want Narcan. Isn't that weird? Which Narcan's the drug, like that nasal spray, I think, if you overdose on an opioid or whatever it is. And that statement sent me into full-blown panic. Now I am Googling. I am looking at my pupils in the mirror. I'm thinking, oh no, that this is what this is. I'm overdosing on my pain medication, like the tiniest dose that they had given me. So I quit the pain medication, went to the emergency room, just completely shaking, panic, barely could remember my name, could not remember my social security number, could not say my birthday. I mean, I was like completely panicked, thinking that I was dying on the spot, right? Now, this is kind of when I started going to the emergency room daily for a period of time. And so went there, they kind of checked me out, said you're good, and like sent me home. So then I'm back. I don't know if it was that day or the next day, but it was very soon. Again, I was walking around my house. The derealization was so strong. My heart was pounding, palpitating. I was dizzy. And I'm thinking, this is not right. So I go back to the emergency room and I'm like, look, I don't feel well. Like, I have no good way of describing how I felt, but I'm like, I don't feel well. I don't feel okay. Like, I need help. I remember begging them to keep me overnight. I was like, please keep me overnight. Hook me up to some monitors. Like, I'm not okay. I need monitoring. And again, they're like, hey, look, like, you're having anxiety, you need to go home. Okay. So I'm like telling them, okay, I've had anxiety before. Like, this is not anxiety. I'm like, the only reason that I'm anxious is because of how I feel. I'm anxious because of my very real physical symptoms. So basically it was like that for a few days. Now fast forward to the 13th. The 8th was my surgery, 13th is my husband's birthday. And I remember that was like a very specific breaking point day for me. So woke up, I mean, sheer panic. I had gone to the emergency room so many times. I had gone back to my surgeon. I had, been to all these different urgent cares and things like that. Nobody was helping me. And I remember waking up and I was shaking, and I was like, had not slept very much. I had woken up into the most derealization state I've ever been in. It was so strong. I could not even hardly see. I remember looking up, and the only thing that looked even almost normal was the ceiling fan. Everything else in my room looked completely abnormal. My husband looked abnormal. I looked abnormal in the mirror. It was bad, right? My face was numb. I could hardly walk. I felt like my muscles were all weak. I was having heart palpitations. I was having GI issues. I was throwing up. I mean, it was a lot happening. The DPDR also was to the point where it was giving me like severe dizziness, which turned into triple PD, which is like that persistent rocking, swaying, drunk, dizzy sort of feeling. And I literally could not walk from my room to my kitchen. So ended up having my husband take me to my primary care doctor. So at this point, she's trying to get me to take an SSRI. And I was telling her, I'm like, look, I cannot take anything right now. I'm like, I feel so out of body. I feel so unwell. I feel, 10, terrified of my symptoms. But I was telling her, I'm like, these are real symptoms. Like, I'm not just anxious about something. Like, this is real stuff happening within my body. And she just seemed annoyed, like she didn't have the time. And she was like, look, you have something going on. You need to see a psychiatrist. Like, basically just very much your crazy vibes. And sent me home. And so I went straight to the emergency room, and they wouldn't take me there. Went straight to another emergency room, and again, I was begging them to keep me. I'm like, please, like, I'm not okay. Just hook me up to a monitor, keep me, right? And they weren't. So this was kind of the day that I became truly bedbound, unable to leave my bed. I was not driving. I was not able to walk out of my house. I was not able to go, walk to my mailbox. I was, completely bedbound.